Athens would have survived without the theater being rebuilt, and the Athens music scene would have survived without the theater being built. The Athens music scene became what it was in the first place in the '80s without the Georgia Theater. I mean, there was the Watt and the Uptown and a couple other odds and ends and people playing parties, um, but now it's hard to imagine it without it. I mean, we would have survived, of course, but there's no doubt that the scene is much, much better with the presence of the theater. On the one hand, it stopped bringing the audience. On the other hand, there's other local businesses that thrived greatly as a result of the Georgia Theater being out of business, because people are still going to go out and see bands, and people are still going to go out and buy beer. And so venues like the New Earth Music Hall and the 40 Watt, obviously, were probably, I mean, they definitely both had some spillover. They also, what was interesting in that time was the partnership between venues. There was Georgia Theater Presents shows at lots of venues around Athens because they didn't have a venue, but those guys still needed to work. So Scott and Wilmot were still promoting shows in other venues under the Georgia Theater Presents name. So there was this partnership. Of course, there was a big gaping hole in the middle of downtown. There's probably a lot of money that would have gone into a music venue that was just going into bars downtown, from somebody's not specifically coming up to town to see a particular artist, but just going into town to drink beer with their friends. That kind of crowd probably is spilling off into other places, non-music related venues. Whereas now, it's kind of the place to go if you're going downtown.